I'm a terrible podcast host. Welcome to the Context Needed podcast, everyone. We was missing from the overlay for a second there because we've been sending weeb figures to each other. So apologies for that. I am Kyle, joined with Ollie and Raceman Mirror Dimension Ollie.
Wait, no, you got that the wrong way around.
You missed that. You missed Ryan.
Yeah, I'm completely frazzled because of everything.
You're a
that's been
hot
happening.
mess.
I'm a hot mess today. But it's Raceman Super Rare Gacha Ollie in the bottom.
In race mode.
In race mode.
Going full sideways.
And
Bullshit.
And I'm trying to think of some weeb nickname to give you, Ryan, but I can't think of one.
They call me the trash man.
But anyway,
I come into the stage and I just start buying figures.
Yeah, so this is the Context Needed podcast. A bit of a weird opening today because it's a bit warm. I've had a few beers. My head's a bit frazzled, but
very hot.
We literally were just talking about kids shows we used to watch and was on about Beyblades, and I said I have a story that I can open up the podcast with about Beyblades because these guys think I was too old for Beyblades, but I wasn't.
No, I wasn't sure. I can't remember how old. I can't remember how old I was. Maybe 7, I guess, when they were big, but I couldn't quite remember the date.
I was in secondary school when Beyblades got big, and I would say probably my
old man.
I think it was either in my first or second year of secondary school, so high school for Americans. So Beyblades got big, and I had easily like 8, 9, or 10 different Beyblades, but I figured out that I was able to mix the extremely lightweight disc with the really heavy one. So I was able to have a double-weighted Beyblade with this certain makeup, and I used to win every single fight because of it in Beyblades. But out of nowhere, Beyblades got banned through the school, like completely banned. And we found
safety nightmare.
Oh, it was nothing.
Kids losing eyes.
Well, it wasn't to do with like them going flying out of the ring, so to say, for the actual Beyblade battles. It was because one of the scrotes of the year decided to launch the Beyblade at a girl's face and cut her face clean open.
Jesus.
Clean off.
So she had
no face.
She had this massive gash over her face because he just launched this Beyblade at her, and because of that, obviously, it all got banned, and it turned into this fucking like underground Fight Club style battle ring where we'd literally hold like underground tournaments with Beyblades.
In the
first rule of Beyblade Cup is don't talk about Beyblade Club.
And I was the fucking champion.
What is it called? Girls telling a story, like grandkids are like, Grandma, how did you get the scar? Was it in a war? No. Fucking
Vietnam
I'm
flashbacks.
A Beyblade veteran.
Have you ever seen the
Grandma, we found Beyblades. Oh God!
Have you seen the there's the video of the dog where they're holding like cupcakes in front of it and his face is like
yeah
that's her face when someone talks about Beyblades.
Yeah, basically. I know I don't think they got banned at my school, but when I went to secondary school and I spoke to some kids from other schools in the area, apparently they got banned in the one school because you used to get the bowls for them, didn't you, for the battles if you were lucky. I remember we weren't lucky enough to have one of those at my school. We used to do them just on the concrete on the playground.
We used a Beyblader.
If we didn't have a metal-based Beyblade, it would just chew the base of them up, and it was the worst. But they had a bowl, and they had it. And this one kid, just mid-fight, decided he was just going to shove his face in the bowl and then hurt himself. And then that got him banned at their school. Just like,
I wonder what would happen if I put my face in between these two high-velocity spinning tops designed to kill each other.
I remember... did you ever see Eggbots? They were just these shit... They kind of capitalised on the Beyblade thing. They weren't exactly the same. Rather than being just like a top, they were a self-contained thing in like the shape of an egg. And then obviously they'd have like a gyroscope in them that you'd put the cord into the thing rather than having like a launcher, and you'd pull it and it would spin a disc like kind of on the body. But it was like a whole. It would be basically it was the launcher and the top in one, and then obviously a gyroscopic force to keep it going. But they were way heavier than Beyblades, and I remember the one lad. Someone used an egg bot in the Beyblade thing, and it literally smashed his Beyblade to pieces because they just. I don't know if the Beyblade weight rings around that big. The ones on these egg bots were like that big,
twice the size.
Centimeter. They must have been like a piece of cast steel because they were thick as well.
Thick with 7 C's.
Yeah, and they just mullered Beyblades. They absolutely mullered them. But I remember I had a few good ones. I kind of had a bit of a Frankenstein one where I'd take them apart and put all kinds of shit together. And I seem to remember I had a good one because it was one with like it had the main top and then like a free spinning disc that sat out. So whenever it got hit, that free spinning disc would take all the energy, but the main top wouldn't slow down.
So that's the one I used to make my double weight disc because that was the Bear Beyblade. It was a red one, wasn't it?
Yes.
So it was literally
Dragoon. No, was it Dragoon or something like that?
I can't remember what they're called, but it was the Spirit Beast or whatever they were called. It was like a bear-looking type thing, and
I'm telling you,
it was red. And that free spinning disc, what I realised was if I took that free spinning disc out of the, because they were made of 3 parts. So it was the base, the weight ring, and the attack top. And the attack top of that one had 2 parts, unlike rather than the single one, which most of them had. So I took the free spinning disc out, which is how I was...
another weight in.
Well, that was because that free spinning disc obviously took up some vertical space. You was able to squeeze the really heavyweight disc into the very thin, wide, lightweight disc, and it would still fit on the actual Beyblade top and stuff. That's how I was able to make that one, which it made it easily like half the weight extra than all the other Beyblades.
So Danny's currently researching them now. Dragoon was the red one.
Oh, was it the Dragoon? Okay.
Dragoon was...
See, there's a few red ones here. There's a few red ones that I can see here. There's like a whole list of Beyblades.
Yeah, you got to think it carried on after we played.
It's that one. I think it's that one.
See, all I can remember about Beyblade is I got one of the plastic bowls for it.
Yeah.
Which were like 30 quid.
Yeah, they weren't cheap, were they?
30 quid. And it was just like a plastic. It was like the plastic that you get on the box that holds your Beyblade.
Yeah,
That's all
it was like
it wasn't even that.
It was press mold, weren't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it was just vacuum formed. It was basically like what you get food in. It wasn't good plastic.
And then I can remember is the edges of it, like because it was like it had 3 points coming out of it, but then the bowl in the middle. All I can remember is those like at the bottom where it like sits on the ground. They'd share and they'd come apart.
Yes, they used to split, didn't they?
Finger on one of those fuckers. They cut you right open.
Oh yeah,
the real danger of Beyblades.
I only ever had like 1 or 2 Beyblade battles in the actual arena because no one in my school had parents rich enough to get the arena. Because I think you could get a Beyblade for like £5 at like
if that.
We'd always get the
if that, and
Beyblades. You wouldn't even get the real ones.
Well, I always had
Toys
the real
R
ones.
Us started selling them.
Yeah, that's where I got mine. I got mine
Rest
at
in
Toys
peace,
R
Toys
Us.
R Us.
I used to work at Toys R Us. That's the
there's not many memories from
shop.
Toys R Us. All I can remember is buying a Lego set as a kid. 1 Lego set from there.
Oh mate,
Pokemon cards from Toys R Us.
I remember.
Go on, Ollie.
I was just going to say, just going to Toys R Us, one toy I fondly remember getting, and I must have been only about 4, because I remember I was in primary school, and thinking about the classroom I was in, I think I was maybe in class 2, so that would have maybe 4 or 5. And it was literally a double-barrel shotgun that actually broke, and you could put shells in it, and it was fucking awesome. And I remember I took it to school.
And instantly everyone screamed.
Dude, it was a different time. I mean, it was blatantly a toy. Obviously.
Yeah.
It was visibly a toy. Oh, and I also had an Org A1 with the classic scope on it. Didn't know what it was at the time, but it was an Org A1. And
Bro, I never saw any of these toys.
Yeah,
I was as a kid, I was a toy gun kid. I fucking love. I still love guns. They're fucking wicked.
You were a toy gun kid. My dad would make them out of wood and stuff for us. Like me and my mate across the street would all have like wooden toy guns that my dad would make. So there's this one we made together with copper pipe as like the barrel.
That sounds awesome.
It's like we were originally modelling it off the M40A3, I think, but I was like, no, it's got to be like this. But I was a kid and stupid, so like the butt is just like too high, so like you can't actually look down the scope without like having your face like this on the side of the gun.
My toy guns were those ones where you did this and went ka-ka-ka-ka-ka. That was my toy gun.
My toy guns still existed when you were young, Carl. You're only 2 years older than me.
No. I'm just saying we never had them. We was never able to buy them.
Peasant. My guns were the shit.
My uncle and auntie got me a cap gun when we were on holiday once, and I loved it. And I had it for like 2 days, and I was running around on the beach with it, and I had it on my back, and it was like a break barrel kind of Western.
Like a
kind of thing, but it was weird because it was like a revolver, but it was just like a lever action size rifle. I don't know.
You can get revolver rifles. You can't. They're just long barrel revolvers with a stock on them.
Yeah.
So I got it on this strap on my back, and I'm running up and down the beach, like
I am the shit.
Playing army, I am the dog's bollocks right now. And I came down, like kind of fell a bit. And I stabilized myself, but he snapped it on my back. I'd never been as distraught as that, and I wasn't allowed another one. I was so distraught. I was like,
"Oh,
the best like toy gun I ever had was quite later on in life, and I got it from obviously we got Skegness in the UK. Well, there's Inglemells next door to it, and I've always preferred Inglemells over Skegness, and
I think everybody prefers anywhere over Skegness.
Inglemells Market, because it's right next to where some of my family live. My Inglemells Market, I was with my ex at the time. We like having like a little holiday break over there. Went to the market, and there's always BB guns. And I went to the BB gun store, looked at the guns.
Blackpool for me.
Well, I went to this store.
Every seaside place.
I'm looking at a few of these. I'm looking at a few of these guns, and the guy was like, "Oh, well, I've got these, but those ones don't have the good springs in them." I was like, "What do you mean the good springs?" "Oh, I take the springs out of them, and I change them to more powerful springs to make the guns better." I was like, "Well, I'll have one of those ones then instead." And I found out, like, after the fact, like, if I put metal ball bearings in this gun that I had, I would be against the law. Because the FPS that the metal ball bearings would go was over the legal limit of BB guns. So
that's bad.
I had this gun that was ridiculously powerful. I used to have loads of fun with it, and I think I ended up taking it with me to uni. We used it when we got drunk, like stupid dares and stuff, and I think there was this one day where it was like the gun had just gone, "Nah, I'm done," because racked it. Because it was obviously a shoot rack style. It wasn't like a CO2 powered one.
Springer.
Yeah, so it was shoot rack, and then I racked it, went to shoot again, and literally the whole upper slide exploded. The entire upper connection just exploded everywhere, and I was like, "Oh, guess that's that more powerful spring then."
Yeah, well, that's that, and that was the story of the gun.
Finally, just ripped itself to bits. It was
like, you know, done. Fuck it out. I'm gone.
Yeah. Oh man, buying airsoft guns at the seaside, like, didn't happen a lot for me, but it did happen a few times, and it was prime childhood for me.
I never did that. I never got like the airsoft guns at the beach. I'm kind of happy.
I was only like 10.
Oh, I was never.
We didn't even load them.
I was never allowed them when I was a kid.
Well, we didn't load them. They just looked better than toy guns. Like, obviously, they're replica. So, like, we had a few, and then I think my parents would throw them away on the sly because, like, one day they'd just disappear. But I was obsessed with toy guns as a kid. I had so many.
I still am.
If we
I still am to this day.
Because obviously we have a few subject matters we wouldn't mind talking about today. If we briefly just take a step back to Toys R Us, because obviously Toys R Us was like, let's face it, it was the shop you'd go to leading up to Christmas.
Argos, Toys R Us,
Argos.
and Toy Monster.
See, for me,
Definitely
it was
Argos
always,
over that.
for me, it was always, when I was a kid, they'd give you the Argos catalogue and you'd like circle things you wanted for Christmas.
We'd make a list. We'd be putting the codes down. They're like, put the codes down on your list for Santa.
For us,
so
it
you
was
can
always,
order it easily.
For us, it was always circle what you was after kind of thing. But then we'd always end up going to Toys R Us, because what they'd do is we'd just walk through Toys R Us, we'd play with shit, and they'd obviously see things we played with more and potentially get us that. But I actually briefly worked for Toys R Us when I was, I think I was 17 at the time. I worked as a Christmas temp, and I think this was about 4 or 5 years before they went bust. Well, when did they went bust? Quite a few years.
No, they've only just gone bust.
It was like a year. It was only a year or two ago.
Oh
they went
shit!
bust.
Really? I thought it was way before.
I think it's maybe about 3 years ago. I think
They probably started like losing shops at the point that you have to think. They've all like, since I've been a kid, they've just been slowly deteriorating because of online sales of stuff instead.
Well, they were always too expensive, always. But so I worked there for literally like 2 months, and I was just literally on the shop floor, like sorting stuff out, tidying stuff up, directing people, and I ended up getting let go after the Christmas period, because they didn't need staff, and the manager, like, you're just not very good at your job, you didn't really like sell much stuff. And it's like, okay. And then every time I thought of that moment, it reminded me going back literally like 2 or 3 weeks before I got let go. They had all the toy sections split up, so you'd have like the entry section, which was like seasonal stuff, which was, it was some Disney movie at the time, and I hated working that section because it would just play like a MIDI variant of that Disney movie over and over and over again. So I used to fight to not be in that section, but then you'd go through, there'd be like the electronic stuff, and then all the back rows, it would literally be like boys' toys for like a third of the shop, girls' toys for a third of the shop, and then it would go to like preschool for another third of the shop, all on these rows. And it was like, you'd have like Transformers, then toy cars, then Star Wars, then all this stuff. And I was tidying up the Star Wars section. And the best thing about working there was seeing the kids' reactions when they'd walk into the aisles and see all the cool stuff. He must have been like 4 or 5 year old little boy, ran, and I mean like full on child ran at the Star Wars section. And then, you know when kids stop and they just go, boom, and then they're in the zone. And he just went bang, stopped straight into the Star Wars section and looked, and his face was just like in awe. It was like he'd opened Pandora's box looking at all these Star Wars toys. And he started looking at, they'd brought out these new lightsabers that were actually really fucking cool lightsabers. And he was looking at one, and we were allowed to, as staff members, get them out for people to look at them and try them out. So I walked over to this kid, and I went, would you like to have a go? And he was like, yes. His head was nodding so fucking fast. And I looked at his parents to say, like, is this okay? Is he allowed? Yeah. And they was like, yeah, sure. So I got one out for him, and I think I ended up getting out, I think it was the Blue Obi-Wan Kenobi one from episode 3 at the time.
Was it the ones where you flick the button, you flick it out like that?
No, this was after the ones that you'd flick out. It was just a solid like piece, but it was because they were designed to like hit other lightsabers, because they would actually interact and make noises with each other.
Yeah.
So he got that out, turned it on. Luckily, it actually had fucking batteries in it. He starts swinging it around. He's loving it. So I just went, you know what, sod this. I'm going all in. I finish in 10 minutes. I don't care. I went and got another lightsaber out and started having a lightsaber fight with this 4-year-old in the aisle of Toys R Us. And his parents are just laughing their heads off. We're going crazy with these lightsabers. And I let him beat me as if I was like the Sith kind of thing. Went down, went out, ended up putting them away. They ended up buying £500 worth of Star Wars stuff.
Jesus Christ! I just got a bonus payment.
Well, as I literally helped them get all the stuff they was after into the trolleys, the manager came over to me and started giving me shit for playing with the toys. And I literally went to him, I was like, just go and look at how much they're spending. And it was then that I realised they'd spent 500 quid. And I was like, that's how much they've now spent because I played with their child with these toys, and he really loved it. And they went and bought this stuff, and he was like, and then just walked off.
That's the thing, though. It's probably more of a corporate thing, though, isn't it? It's like, and there's loads of boring bastards everywhere now. I mean, nobody's allowed to have fun as an adult anymore. It's like, you can't have fun. You've got to be boring and like boring things.
I'm a grown man-child, and no one can tell me otherwise.
No one will ever stop me. Yeah.
You're allowed to play with a child that isn't your own. Like, mate, not everyone's a paedophile. Some people are just nice.
Nothing is cooler than nothing was cooler than being at Comic-Con in London. Start getting dark, and they'd come the Star Wars cosplayers. God, and they've all spent like over £100 on these lightsabers. They're like proper.
The really nice ones, yeah.
Lightsabers, and they just go at it, and you're just like, it's dark, and that's literally the only light is that. We build this big circle around them as they have these duels. They're obviously like really into it because they're like kind of in the character at the time, and it's there was nothing as like just exciting as that moment and just fun.
Have you seen?
Yeah.
Oh, go on, Ali. Sorry.
Go on. I was just going to say, Danny's brother has one of those. He wasn't a cosplayer or anything, but he bought like the really nice, like expensive.
Everybody wants.
I think they're called like. I think they're called.
That's wrong. That's a lie.
They're called like a Mastercraft lightsabers or something, aren't they?
Yeah, and it is nice.
They've started doing them at it's Disney World, isn't it, in America?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Have you seen in Disney World? You can go build your own. They literally come out with loads of different parts, and you can build your own like Mastercraft lightsaber. And like they actually like have someone who's like a Jedi monk or something who explains the details of the piece, and like when you pick your crystal, like it explains the different meanings of the colors in the Force with the crystals and stuff. And it's like, holy shit, I want to go just for that. Fuck everything else. Yeah. I will just fly over, do that, and fly back. Done.
Well, one of my bosses is mega into Star Wars, like properly just off the charts. And they're planning their, like, him and his wife are planning their, or his fiance, I think it's the moment. They're planning their honeymoon. And part of their honeymoon is literally him going and building this goddamn lightsaber. He's like, I'm going to build that lightsaber, and there's nothing she can say. And she's like, yeah, do it.
Hey, the honeymoon is for both of them.
She's just going to go do like the Disney princess stuff, because I think they're going with like some friends, and he's going to do the Star Wars thing with like his friend's wife, and then her husband and his wife are then going to go and do like all the rest of the Disney stuff. I was just like, bro, that's the coolest honeymoon ever.
That's
he's going
rad.
to fucking Disney World and doing the fucking lightsaber build. But you can do like the R2D2 and like
there's all the different droids as well. Yeah,
I think it's just so cool. But I mean, it's like you compare toys nowadays to the toys back in the day. Like, you remember the Robo-Raptor or whatever it is, and the fucking then there was the man one, Utter Shy.
I remember like Robo-Raptor, but only because of iDog.
Yes, and then there was iDog as well. Yeah,
my grandparents had there was something like iDog that was before iDog that wasn't very good, and then they bought iDog, and I think the reason why they got it was because my grandma really wanted a dog, but my grandpa was completely and utterly like, no. So they just bought that. And obviously it is nothing like it whatsoever, but it was just funny because it was this iDog, I remember you could make it do some really stupid shit. You could literally get it to do a handstand, and it would all automatically do this. The only thing was, it wasn't very good with like thick rugs. It had to be on like a solid,
wheels, doesn't it?
Yeah, it had to be like on solid flooring. So you'd put it in like your living room on like the rug or the carpet, and it would just really struggle to do like handstands and stuff and just fall over. And you'd be like, oh, well, that's pretty shit then.
That's amazing.
I can remember the Robo-Raptor being £50, and it's being sold now by a business on Amazon for £124. Mate, it wasn't worth £50 when it was originally out. No, if anybody pays £124 for that fucker, they're mugging themselves off because it was shite.
See,
There was a kid at my school who got everything. He was spoiled. He was an only child, and his mum and dad had split up, and he'd have every toy. And he had the Roboraptor in like the Homo sapien equivalent, which is just basically a man. I've never seen such a shite toy in my life. It got like an hour's playtime.
Yeah. They weren't really toys, were they? They were just gimmicks, if anything.
It was crap. Yeah. It was proper crap. I mean, I'd rather
a lot of toys were like that back then.
I'd rather sit there and go through my Yu-Gi-Oh cards a million times looking at the cool pictures rather than that.
Pot of greed. Pot of greed.
I'll have you know, I had the left leg of Exodia.
I had the right arm of Exodia. I did also know
someone nicked that, actually.
Well, I know there was because obviously Yu-Gi-Oh became a thing in secondary school as always, and luckily you was actually able to play the game, unlike Pokemon cards. No one really understood the rules, but Yu-Gi-Oh...
I never played.
Well, we actually did. We did play it at my school, like, briefly. It was a very, very short phase, but there was this one kid who liked to brag that he had the full set of Exodia, which... bear in mind, is probably ridiculously rare, actually, especially at the time, because it wasn't. There were all of five of those.
If you're pulling it, pulling it as well.
Well, it was like just even owning the cards. I think was quite difficult because I think all 5 of those cards were considered rare cards, and he owned
it was
all 5.
Amazing to have one piece.
Yeah, all 5. He had all 5 of the rare cards, and I remember him bragging about it, and he showed it us, and it was like, they were so obviously fucking fake. But he would not No, they're real. I got them out of booster packs. It's like, fuck off. No, you didn't. You printed them yourself, probably.
They were always like...
Or they're off eBay from some Chinese seller.
I was going to say, they always like, the colours are always wrong. Things like the little stars at the top were like too big or too small. And just like everything about them,
they weren't lined up exactly. Whereas a Yu-Gi-Oh, obviously everything was perfectly in line.
Speaking of eBay, I remember we bought a load of. I'm trying to think how much it was. My brain's telling me £50, but that might be wrong. And we bought a stack of cards and the seller said that it had all the pieces of Exodia in it. We bought them and they did come and they were legit cards. Not a single piece of Exodia.
Yeah, you get that. Was it just one of those like big, like you spend like £15 and you get the fucking biggest stack of cards, which they've just.
It was a good thick stack, but they said it was in there. It wasn't like, oh, it might have it. It was like, no, they said it had it and it didn't.
See, there's one thing.
I bought some of those Pokemon wise of like a couple of years ago.
There's one thing I wish I was able to have convinced an ex to do just to piss her off now, because when I was with her years ago. She actually had all 150 Pokemon cards. Actually, 151 because there was the Ancient Mew card as well that she had.
Yeah.
But she had
they released that after, didn't they?
Yeah, she had all 151 of the original Pokemon cards, and she also had all of the shinies as well. So it's this collection is ridiculously expensive now.
You should have stolen that.
I was just saying to her, I was Googling how much the cards were worth at the time. Like, I think a shiny Charizard at the time was like, I think, £120. I mean, I don't know how much they...
That's probably more now. I think the price just ramps up every year.
Yeah. Let's have a look at how much...
You still make them?
What, Yu-Gi-Oh? Pokemon cards?
Like the original runs? Or they only make the current gen?
The original runs stopped. They did a rerun of the original runs, but they were just you could easily tell they were the new ones, and they didn't. They weren't very good. I mean, bear me a second.
Yeah, the original runs were like the best ones. Like,
yeah, because that's when I used to do it. I stopped when the second generation came out. That's when I kind of. But I remembered when. I remember seeing a lot of the second generation, because obviously they must have come out in Japan earlier than over in the UK. And some of the stores, did I ever tell you about Infinity and Beyond? Like that kind of awesome nerdy shop that used to have all like the Gundam models and stuff? I think I've mentioned it before. They used to sell Pokemon cards, that's where I used to get them from. And they must have imported the Japanese cards, because I remember sometimes you'd open a pack and they'd all... I don't know what the deal was, whether they must have done it themselves, maybe they were opening the packs and dropping them in. I don't know, it's a long time and I can't remember 100%, but I just remember that occasionally we'd have before they were really known in the UK, second gen cards are showing up in Japanese.
Yeah.
And at first I thought they were fake because it was just like,
This isn't right.
What's this? But like, I remember first, I can't even remember. I think it might be like Pichu or something like that, the first one I saw.
Yeah.
But like, I just remember like and I remember the Japanese cards had different art on them as well. Because I remember Tom, had a Japanese Pikachu and it looked really cool, but it was all Japanese. But like the art was totally different to ours.
Do you still remember the original Pikachu artwork?
I can't remember what it looks like without looking it up. No.
It's literally just a fucking yellow blob with ears and a tail. It's literally the fattest Pikachu. It looks like if the cartoon anime Pikachu broke into a fucking fast food restaurant and gorged himself for 2 days straight.
Man.
It's so out of place when you look at it nowadays compared to like how it was when you like originally like looked at it. Oh no, he's got his collection out, boys.
The biscuit tin. He's got the biscuit tin.
So for anyone listening to the podcast, Ryan has just arrived with what appears to be a biscuit tin of, I'm guessing, collectible cards.
It's not a biscuit tin. It's an actual.
It's a proper. I know. I remember those.
Was that the starter packs?
Yeah. These were different ones to the kind of starter packs, but bear with me. Let me show you the extent of my money wasting.
Oh God, he's got more.
I can remember the smell of those packs of Pokemon cards. The little reds. Oh my God, like that smell is my child. I wish I could smell that again because it was just my childhood.
It's one of those things where it's like, you get weird things like that, like obviously new book smell, new car smell, but for me it was also new game smell.
Yeah.
Did you ever have new game like PlayStation 2 new game smell was probably one of the greatest smells. How many fucking tins does he have?
How many tins has he got?
He's just turned up with like 6 more tins.
Oh my God. This is disgusting.
I think we need
an intervention.
we need to stop this now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of worried, man. But yeah, just new game smell. The smell of the like cellophane packs of Pokemon cards. It used to be the little red pack, didn't it? I can remember that because I used to come home from primary school. We'd go to my nan's, and she'd have bought each of us a pack of Pokemon cards, and I can still remember the smell. And I want to smell that. I want to see if, I don't know, anyone's still got any unopened. They're probably megabucks now, but just to smell that again.
I don't think they are, because when I just did a quick like Google, they're actually like really, really low in price now. I'm wondering if
they must have made so many.
I'm wondering if it's like tailed off now, like the cost of them for like the collectible side of things. Because obviously it's the weird thing with like collectibles, isn't it? Like they'll start at an average price, they'll drop, and then when they become a bit more collectible, they'll go right up until eventually they peak out, and then they just drop again, usually, depending on the collectible anyway.
How recently did you like get that collection, Ryan? Is that like over years and years, or is that a fairly recent thing?
I was an idiot as a child, and I actually...
Wait, only as a child?
Well,
only as a child.
I am now because I've spent a lot of money to get back up to the state I was originally. So originally I had quite a few Pokemon cards, but I didn't kind of collect them like I'd go, right, here's the set. You know, you just find that in the UK it wasn't as easy to go anywhere and find like, and they didn't really advertise it and go, here is this set that's out now. Like you didn't really see those adverts. They were just like,
no, they just appeared.
Yeah. You couldn't do singles over here either as well. I noticed no shops would sell singles. You would either buy a booster pack or a pack, but no single card.
The one set of cards I can remember collecting were the Doctor Who ones. And me and my mum would go around and you'd feel the packets. And you could feel the ones with a shiny in them. So I had shit tons of shinies because we'd be there and we did it at this stall. And this guy's like, you can't do that. And we're like, fucking watch me.
You've got some guy behind them. You've got some guy next to them like, what the fuck are these crazy people doing with these cards?
Bro,
what the fuck
I got
is wrong
so
with them?
many shinies. I don't know where I put them. But yeah, so I originally had a bunch of cards. I then traded them for I had a few. I traded Pokemon Yellow for more off my mate. Like I got a whole set of them off my mate, and I then just gave a bunch of them away, which I always one of the biggest regrets of my life. So
wow, you didn't know back in the time, did you? Like,
no, stupid kid. A couple years ago, when I went to Comic-Con in 2017, I'd been watching a lot of Max Mofo, and there was a video I've uploaded on one of my channels on YouTube of me doing a very just stupid character, which is just incredibly rude and inappropriate and stupid.
So
basically, but we're doing a Pokemon, like a lot of these cards here, Pokemon unboxing, like me and my mate, these two characters, and it's fucking stupid. But I started recollecting again, and I've spent easily probably pushing up to £500 on cards. But
fucking hell.
like, so you get a bunch of these kind of big ones in some of the sets. I'm now showing.
I've
shiny.
What the hell?
never
They're
seen those
massive.
before.
Massive.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never
these-
seen that before.
They started doing these in the later ones, and they're just
Oh, I
like,
stopped
see-
at Gen 2, so I never saw those.
box, right? And you'll see a box, and it'll have one of these in the center, and then it'll have like packets all around the edge. It's like this will be in the center, and you'll see a packet, like a boosters.
Right.
So you get these. These are just like you can't use these; they're just for show.
They're decorative, aren't they? Yeah.
So, and then I found these. I go into Asda, and they don't have much, but they have a couple of like Pokemon things on, like in the little tiny toy section near us. And I'll always go in. Like I saw these, and just shows how much of a like Pokemon fan I am. It's like just this really cool, like little.
I quite like that.
Yeah, so there's a few of them, and like you put them all together in a certain way, and they'd make like this image.
Oh,
Like
cool.
that.
Okay.
So yeah, I did. I bought a lot of the. I bought a couple of these only actually because they were expensive for like the size these are. I was like, I don't.
Well,
Really...
I assume they came with a load of cards in them.
You got that, yeah. You got a few cards in there and whatnot, but I was a bit like, I don't want to be spending too much money because I didn't have much at the time. But like, I'm at the stage where like I've got like sleeve. You get like a bunch of sleeves with some of the sets and stuff as well. So I sort of sleeving stuff. That's sad it is, but I've literally got like. So this is like
That's
one of these kind of
few.
starter tins full.
So how many do you actually have there? Because obviously we've got audio listeners as well. So how many do you have there?
I don't know. Like,
well, I'd say
like
that one tin there.
The amount of tins do you have?
Well, I'm trying to work out how many's in a tin.
So right, we've got tins in like you'd have the plastic inlays originally. I've taken the plastic inlays out. If people know what I'm on about, the size. And these are like literally filled up to the brim that I can.
It's the hollow tin now.
Yeah, I can.
So how many tins full of cards you have? So you're like 6 tins there.
So that's one that's full.
That's easily, I'd say, 200-300 cards a tin.
Yeah,
Easy,
exactly.
yeah.
So there's one which is full, where I've like got stacks. I've got two which are like partially full, but I could probably fit.
That's probably about 200.
So I've got about 400, two 400s, one.
And he has
200s.
He has at least 600 energy cards.
Oh, there's literally there is one
And
of these.
no girlfriend.
Wow!
I'm sorry.
It's actually true.
It's low-hanging fruit. I'm sorry. That
was just mean.
One of these boxes is actually entirely energy cards.
Oh god, I'm sorry.
He's gonna go into fucking RuneScape now, looking for GF.
We'll trade 400 Pokemon cards for GF.
It's another one. So we've got.
He's still going. This is the best bit. He's not stopped.
I was gonna say, I mean, we've got to be pushing 1,000 cards at this point.
Easy.
Easy.
Because what I do is when obviously now I've got a wage, I'd buy like. So the shops will get in the booster boxes, like the booster packs in a box, and you'd buy one of those. Like,
how much were they?
If you get a good deal, just under 100 quid. If you're looking at like standard price, 100, 110.
Jesus.
But like you do that, and you start getting onto points where like these aren't full. These are just like one of them's like my favorite cards, and all the other one's like just a bunch of shinies, or like shinies which are actually worth something.
If ever you do have a partner you have of sexual interest come into that room, please tell me you instantly go over to your cards. Do you want to look at my card collection?
Please record the moment that you show them your card collection, because I want to see that.
Babe, have you got protection?
But babe, they're worth so much money now. Babe, look at the artwork. It's so cool.
That reminded me. Have you seen the Vine, the Pokemon card? It's like, I've just got some really big problems.
It's so big. Do you want to see it?
So
it pulls out a collection of Pokemon.
Yeah, it's like, what else is big? I'm glad you asked. I have this huge Pokemon card collection.
I mean, like this has got a few. Like, this is full nerdgasm mode right here. This has got a few.
I remember those books, man.
That is literally what my ex had. My ex had one of those full, like all 151 cards kind of thing in there.
A bunch of these were like ones you got in the booster pack when you went to see the Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So
because they had a load of booster packs for like people who went for like the early viewings and the first viewings, didn't they?
Yeah, me and my mate were like, "Can we have another packet?" We were like, "Please, can we have more? You've got loads. Why aren't you giving us?" And then this is the one where it's like actual, like there's some value with some of these. So
yeah,
there's one somewhere.
I just want a shiny Weeping Bell.
The
most valuable, worthless Pokemon.
That one there was worth about like 50 quid a while back. When,
I can't tell what that is.
I can't tell what that is.
I can see a bikini.
Yeah,
I can see it's a person. That's no Pokemon.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Thought.
So here we go. Here's my most expensive card. For fuck's sake. So I've got two here. Let me get them out. It'll be easier to show you. So there's not.
Whoa! Don't get them out. You're in mint condition.
I was going to say, have you got a shiny Mewtwo?
What did you say, Ollie?
Have you got a shiny Mewtwo?
These were going for about 70 quid.
I don't know that Pokemon.
See, I don't recognise these. No, these are newer. These are the newer Gen ones. I didn't put these didn't exist.
Nah.
No, man. I literally I kind of grew out of it when Gen 2 just started to come out.
I think. Obviously, I played Gen 1 loads, and there was obviously Gen 2 with Gold and Silver. I think the last one I played was
collecting cards. I played the games.
Oh, so I didn't. I only collected Gen 1 cards. I didn't collect any after that, but games-wise, I think the last ones I played was... Is it Suicune? Suicune. There's the free legendary dogs. What one was they on?
Gen 2.
So that's the last one I played then.
Is that actually a shiny Mewtwo, or is that just a Mewtwo?
It's normal, but it's one of the ones from the movie.
Cool.
Is that the original movie, that one?
Yeah, this is an original
Mewtwo's
card.
Revenge, yeah.
I remember that one. Is that the one where Ash gets turned to fucking stone?
Yeah, and Pikachu cries.
And then fixes it.
Yeah.
So I was at an extent where I purchased cards, like single cards. So that's why I've
because you can understand the collection value of it now, to be fair. Like it's the same with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like how much of a shiny blue eyes white dragon's probably going for now, or Exodia.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is Potato Eevee. Look at his fucking head. It looks like it's been hit with a mallet.
It does.
It looks like it's been hit with a shovel face first.
Well, I don't know how many cards we must have had. I remember we moved out of our house. It was before we moved to this house. We lived in a place called Wem up the road. And I just remember when we were there, it was while we were there, I met a lad there, and it was from a lad there that we found out how to find Missing No back on, was it Red?
Yeah, original Red.
It was all the original games had that because it was a cross game code error.
Yeah, and I don't know how many we must have had, but we used to have this drawer, and in my mind it was about 1 meter wide, maybe about 1 foot deep, and it was full of Pokemon cards. I don't know how many we would have had. This would have been back. I was 6, so this was back in 2000. I think
technically you could say it was a metric fuck ton.
It was a fucking shitload of cards. Like, what that collection, because there were some good cards in there. I think we had a shiny Pikachu and stuff like that, which is probably worth fuck knows what now. But like, I bet that collection's worth something now. I think they just got thrown away. To be honest,
That's what happens to a lot of stuff, though.
See,
I mean,
yeah,
did you
there was no value.
did you guys ever like get involved in Magic the Gathering?
No, that's one I never really.
So I was really really late to Magic the Gathering. I only started playing it in my first year of university, but I didn't play the card game. I would play
there's the
like,
online version,
the console variant and the online variant, because you didn't have to pay for the cards, and the cards were very expensive. But I remember reading this story like a good few years ago. There's the rarest and most expensive card in Magic the Gathering called the Black Lotus. Now, I've just got this page up, which is basically showing how it was literally March 5th, 2019. Well, no, this is a different thing I'm reading here, but I'm getting onto that one. So March 5th, 2019, the Black Lotus card sold on eBay for $166,000. That's how rare this card is, and it's apparently such a good card, it's banned in most tournaments because it's so overpowered. Now, there was this tournament. Yeah, there was this tournament probably like 4 or 5 years ago now that I'm thinking about it. It's quite an old story. And the tournament is literally, they give you like decks. It's like, I think you either like pick what colour deck you want to play, and they give you packs that are unopened. I think it's like
they do that in Pokemon tournaments as well.
Yeah, so they give you
go
like,
in, they'll go, right, here's these packs, and you pull it, and that's what you play with.
Yeah, so it was like they'd give you, I think, like a starter deck which you'd pull, and then they'd give you like 5 or 6 booster packs that you'd pull, and you would literally pull that in front of everyone and just show the cards one by one of what you've got to pick from. And it was.
Did these become yours, or they belong to you after that?
I'm guessing they belong to them.
You paid to get in, and they came with like the price to enter.
To play,
because they do it a lot of times where it's like pre-release. So it'd be like the day before they release this, like this new set comes out,
they'll do a tournament.
And you'd go and you do a tournament that like the day before, and you get those cards.
Yeah. So while this guy's pulling his cards, all of a sudden pulls a card over, and it's the Black Lotus. It's like,
holy fuck.
It's just there, like, and literally, like, I remember watching the video, everyone goes fucking mental, because it's like, it's the Black Lotus, like,
it's the one.
Yeah, it's like the fucking unicorn of the game kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's that video, I know you're about to go into, there's that video, and the guy, you can literally just hear him just having, like, the biggest meltdown when he pulls it. It's like, oh my god.
The best bit is, I don't even think he gives a shit if he wins the competition at that point, because he's already probably going to earn more money selling the card.
You basically just won the lottery.
Yeah.
Basically.
There was a card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon, should I say, a couple of, like, a few gens back now. Probably quite a few, because I've not looked at, like, I've not bought any more in a while, because it's just a lot of money gets dropped on it. But
He's been banned from the shop. That's all it is.
Yeah, probably. Wouldn't be surprised. The way I look at the moment, Jesus Christ, what is that?
What is that weird creature looking through the window?
Can I get some Pokemon cards, please?
Misting up the window and licking it off.
There was this one card, and it wasn't a rare card, but it was worth like at least $50-$60. Because it was just so good to use, like it's like the abilities it got, and you get that with the new sets, with the new abilities. Depending on the abilities, you either get that's a factor of like, you know, how much you'll get for it, and there's also then the rarity as well, which can add up and add on, and that's why the prices kind of change and fluctuate more than you realize. It's like a proper stock market for cards on the way they are.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why the Black Lotus probably sells for so much. It's not just because it's a game-breaking card, but because like there's barely any of them in circulation. I think they did actually do a different variant of the Black Lotus for like a newer a newer generation, because I think they tried to bring it more in lines with the tournament rules or something. But I don't think it was called a Black Lotus. I think it was called like the Black Lotus Pod or something like that. Maybe I'm probably wrong, but God, imagine opening a pack and seeing a card worth $160,000.
you'd actually.
Well, again, that's like having your numbers come up on the lottery, really, isn't it? I mean, shit.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
insane.
with card games though, and with cards, personally, I've not gone out my way to purchase Japanese cards, but my mate bought a bunch and he gave me a bunch of dupes he got. But I personally think, and I find, look at the Japanese back compared to ours.
This is what I was saying this when you were getting your collection.
Is the Japanese back the one with the gold border?
It's got the gold border on the back, but then the front is actually like a silver border. Now, I've got a shine here. So
they just look. See, I was saying to Kyle before, because when Gen 2 was first coming out, they must have been showing up in the UK before they were released. Someone must have been importing them, and I remember seeing them. I thought that firstly, I didn't recognise any of the Pokemon because it was when Gen 2 came out but weren't released in the UK, and I was only a kid. But I thought they were fake. Because when you look at them, they're so different. You think, that's not real.
Well, that's one of the Detective Pikachu ones there. But
I still need to watch Detective Pikachu. I've still not watched it.
I watched it the other day. I enjoyed it.
I find these, they look so much nicer. The Japanese have just got this thing with collectibles. Nowhere else does collectibles like Japan.
Japan is crazy with collectibles. So when I went over, and actually you probably saw it in the Giguk video, when they went to the second-hand figure store.
Oh my god.
So think about it over here, someone sells a second-hand figure from a game. 9 times out of 10, not got the box. 9 times out of 10, they don't bother wrapping it when they try and send it over to you or give it to you.
Slobber marks on it.
It's covered in fucking dust because it's just been left out on a shelf and not in a case or anything, and it's just not a nice time. I wouldn't buy second-hand collectibles from the West. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
Second hand over there is different though, because even with just normal applications, they were saying on their podcast that you'll buy a fridge and it's brand new nearly.
Yeah. Well, when I went over there was one. I didn't go into that big second-hand store, but I went to one smaller one that had a lot of second-hand things, and the only reason I went in was because the guy had literally just put in one of the outside cabinets a figure of a character called Senjo Gahara from the Bakemonogatari series, which is one of my favourite series. And it's one of the, rarest figures of her. I couldn't find it anywhere at all online. The only issue with it, there was a few of the little bits that were broken, but I didn't care because I was able to get this figure. There was no box, but they fully, properly wrapped it in bubble wrap, so, there was no damage going to happen to it. It was pristine clean kind of thing. It looked like they'd basically gone over it with a fucking cotton swab to make it clean. And I got it for 500 yen, which is £5, £4.50 for a figure that I think if I found one on eBay that was secondhand in the box still, so it was still a sealed box, but it was still obviously owned by someone, and they wanted I think it was £250.
Jesus.
So it's the difference
prices
is
over
crazy.
there are just ridiculous. I mean, that's one of the big reasons I want to go over there is because I've watched a lot of Max Mofo stuff, and just the stuff that you can find. He purchased one of the original. It cost him $1,000, but in the original, over in Japan, they had dispensers like a vending machine for Pokemon cards. Now, if that isn't the coolest concept for a way to get your Pokemon cards, I don't know what is.
It's the whole
amazing.
It's the whole gacha thing, isn't it? And Japanese have a massive thing about gacha. So Ollie doesn't quite understand this. So Ryan, for the past few...
What the fuck is a gacha?
Yeah. So for the past few streams, whenever I've been introducing Ollie on Elite Dangerous, I keep saying, and my super rare gacha Ollie is here with me as usual. And I
don't dislike it.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, he's just I don't know what this is. And
I
said, I say to him every time, don't worry, it's a compliment because
I'll take your word.
So
it depends because they do gachas for absolutely fucking anything. So he could be one of the really boring dull ones.
Super rare's cool.
I probably am.
Cool. It's not ultra rare, which usually is the top, but super rare's cool. And I fucking hate it when they have super rare, then super rare, then super rare, then ultra rare. Because it's no, just go super rare, ultra rare. Don't be a dick. Go
Well,
common,
that's just
rare.
thinking about the games for it though, because then they've got like actual gachas where they just do.
You still haven't actually just explained what a gacha is.
So
Yeah,
there's a thing in Japan called gachapon. Now you know over here you've got those the machines. You put a coin in, turn the thing, and a toy will drop out.
Yes, like a prize ball.
Yeah, so that is literally what gachapon is. Except in Japan, gachapon, they would literally have an entire room filled with those machines. Shops filled with those machines, all of different stuff. They'll have Pokemon, Digimon, One Piece,
folding chairs, Tressler tables.
It'll be even stuff just like architecture or puzzles and things like that. And the idea of gacha is obviously you put your money in and hope you get what you want. If you don't, you keep trying. And
it's like a mystery box, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, mystery box. And that got pulled across to mobile games and Japanese mobile games and most mobile games in general, where the whole idea of a gacha game is you have loot boxes that you can either pay for or earn with in-game currency, but most people, for the premium stuff, you have to pay to get better chances at having the rarer weapons or the rarer characters or whatever. And like Ryan says, it's linked with a lot of like waifu stuff. So like, it was that video I posted in the in our little room where it was the guy who spent $500 on gacha games for PNG.
He did more than that. Pretty sure he did more than that.
Oh, it was $1,000. Sorry, it was $1,000 on gacha games for a PNG waifu.
Some of them, right? Well, some of them are animated.
You do get animated.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I say to you like you're my super rare gacha, it's
you're a waifu.
I am premium content.
You are premium content because the best gacha style I've always liked is where you'll have C common, R for rare, SR, and then ultra rare, and that's the best kind of like boundaries that I've liked. But I mean, there's been some mobile games I've played where it's like, oh yeah, they've all got a rarity, but then they've got a star rank. And like there was one I used to play where it's like, oh yeah, so they've got the rarity, but then you can increase the star rank, and we've just unleashed it so you can have 7 stars now rather than 6. And it went like to the point where like I'm spending hours of my day just doing the daily missions so I can try and get the 7th star on my big titted waifu. Because I want her to have 7 stars so I can keep her on my team.
Oh my god.
I'm
not judging, I just don't understand.
Well, no,
it's one of those things, I just don't get it.
It is an addiction. Well, it's not even addiction. It's like, it's just
It sounds like a sort of form of gambling, to be honest. Like,
well, technically it is. Technically it is because, well, it's one of those things where if you put in real money into it and they're making it as if you can get one specific thing, like within a certain amount of tries, then yeah, it would be, but they don't do it that way. It's like you can, on pretty much all of these games, the ones that are designed well, you can play it without having to put any money in it whatsoever.
Yeah, just game a chance.
Yeah. And the one I played that did that, it was a game called Soccer Spirits, and that's the one with the stars thing, which was this weird, like... It was a football-style game, but have you ever seen the game Bloodborne? Blood Brawl, or whatever it's called. Yeah, so...
not Bloodborne.
No, the
Bloodborne's like Souls.
There's the one where it's like American football, but with like orcs. Blood Bowl. Someone's just put in the chat for me. Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
So it was like that, but on a mobile game with football instead, or soccer, because it was a Korean game. And I played that game so much, but I didn't put a single penny into it, and I was able to always go into like higher ranking stuff without issues. But then I've played things like, actually, we was taking the piss out of earlier, fucking Raid Shadow Legends.
Start now for free.
It's like that.
Get 10,000 gold.
It's a poorly designed game, just in general, the way it's designed, and it just wasn't it wasn't a well-designed game. Art style is obviously subjective, character design is subjective, so I'll avoid that. but then it was like the way that you gained characters were through things called shards, and there were 4 types of shards you could get. Green shards, which you just could pay with the currency you had in game to get. You couldn't get better than an uncommon in that, and an uncommon was hard to get. Then there was, I think it was a blue shard after that, and to get that you had to have the premium currency, which you could earn in game, but it was harder to come by. Okay. And in there you could only get up to, I think, a rare or something like that, and that was a difficult one to get. Then there was the one above that, which I think was a red shard, which I can't remember if you could actually get through premium currency.
Some of them you had to just pay for.
And it was like, you could unlock them through doing certain missions in the game, but to actually win those missions, you had to put money in to win the missions, because you needed more energy to do it. And then there was
pay-to-win circle jerk, basically.
And then there was the last shard, which literally would only be bought, from what I've seen, unless you were able to do the PvP and get the max rank, which is fucking physically impossible unless you paid money into it. You couldn't get these shards for free, like at all. I mean,
I think probably one of the, well, probably more well-known even than Raid Shadow Legends, even with its memes, is Overwatch. Overwatch is literally a gacha game for your waifus with
skins, yeah.
With skins and stuff. And I've noticed we're about to finish, but I've actually picked out here. We were talking about the originals and the reruns of the cards they did. So this is like one of your original, like, this might have been like the second run, but
what's that one?
First sets. This is just Ghastly.
Ghastly.
Yeah. Like,
I'm just saying, just because obviously we've got audio listeners as well, so just make sure you're saying what you're putting up.
So, I mean, like, if you don't know what you're looking for, you like go to buy an OG Ghastly and you could pick up one of the new ones, but it's like pretty obvious. So I've actually got one of the new ones, which like fucking nowadays you could easily.
That is different. I can see quite a lot.
Like, put them side by side for me.
It's a new print, so you can tell.
Shiny. There's less contrast in like the framing, but the actual Pokemon itself looks a lot darker.
Yeah, the eyes are a lot darker, and also there's no information on the actual abilities as well.
What do you mean?
So on the newer print, the information and attacks are written in a completely different format.
Yeah. So the original print, it's down here. And you'll also notice on the original print, we've got welcome to Real Nerd Hours. There's focus, goddammit. Oh, there we go.
You got the little marker.
Pokeball symbol there.
Yeah.
And there's also just a little dot.
Yeah, because the dot was the circle common, was it?
No. So, well, I think originally it might have been, but what they've done, actually, no, the dot is common. But since then, what they've added on these newer sets, you'll actually get like a little logo for the set.
Yeah.
On that rerun, you've got that, and then say if I picked out this obviously it's just what I've got at the time. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's like, this was a different set, so you can see it's got a different shape.
Yeah.
But there's people who'd probably like, I've not really looked at it because I've never gone out of my way to buy original cards. If I wanted to get them, I've just gone to friends. Like, if you've got any old cards,
I'll have them.
Duplicates, and you don't want them, do not throw them away. Because I'd take that and look after them, and you know, my kids will be able to look at them if I ever get married.
He says this as he's staring through the window of the store, breathing heavily.
It's for my children.
Can I buy the full booster pack for £110? Yes, I have.
Quick, just give him the pack and he'll scurry off.
Hey, there's actually such a thrill out of just opening these fucking packs. It's so sad.
Dude, I get it. I do get it.
Well, while you was collecting all those tins, me and Ollie was actually talking about how, like, there was always those kinds of smells you'd get. Like Ollie was saying, like opening a booster pack, you'd have that smell of just like, oh wow, fresh new cards kind of thing. But it was linked as well with like
cards,
for me, I think the big one was the PlayStation 2, opening a PlayStation 2 game and having that new game smell.
that new game smell. Oh,
Well,
Yeah,
we
new games.
are
oh,
over time. We are over time by a little bit. We usually try and finish up a little earlier. So what we'll do is we will close off for today. Completely circumvented the original subject we was wanted to talk about. We
didn't completely because we got onto it at the end.
Yeah, we got onto Pokemon, but not what you wanted to talk about with Pokemon. So we'll have to talk about that
Always
later.
next week.
Not that shit show.
So we might have to open that can of worms maybe another time. But
yeah, definitely.
For everyone who's watched in the stream, thank you very much for watching. It's always great to have people in the stream with us live. Anyone listening on the audio podcast, come by to the stream. We always do this Saturday, 9 p.m. GMT. So you're more than welcome to come and watch us live. If you've got any questions, queries, or stories, or information you'd like us to talk about, you can always message us at contextneededpodcast@gmail.com. But from me, Kyle, and Ryan and Ollie,
have a wonderful day.
I know what I am now.
He's a super rare. He is a super rare gacha for me in Elite Dangerous.
I'm a super rare.
Waifu.
Yep. Thank you very much for watching, listening, or however other ways you could take in this media. Feeling
telepathically interacting.
Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, and we will see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Peace.